Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for A Bear's Tale, released in 1940. It's the 283rd of the series and it's directed by Tex Avery. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Looney Tunes Gold Collection Volume 5 DVD set. A HD version is lurking about and hopefully that'll make its way on disc at some point because it looks absolutely gorgeous. So in case you haven't seen this short, and it is under copyright, so unless Warner Brothers themselves put it up on YouTube, it's under copyright, the video will just get taken down. But in case you haven't seen this one, there's not much in terms of plot. It's basically the Three Bears tale, but told only the way Tex Avery can. And for good measure, we even get Red Riding Hood thrown in, because why not, right? So first up, you're going to hear the highlights of the audio commentary I did with my good friend Austin Kelly before we had to take that down. And then after that, I'll go through the short and go through some of the references that were missed. So without further ado, let's get into it. And with me today is Austin Kelly, who's told me he loves this cartoon. So say hi.
Hi, I am absolutely obsessed with this cartoon. It's probably in my top, 5 cartoons of all time list.
What can you tell us about this short that you love and hold so dearly?
Well, the backgrounds, I can say, are the work of Johnny Johnson, who went to MGM with Tex. You'll notice the woods there look very much like they do in A Wild Hare, which is another Tex cartoon that Johnny did the backgrounds for. This is also a breakthrough cartoon, I feel, for Bob McKimson and Rod Scribner. Scribner especially, I feel like there's a scene he does towards the end with the wolf and the bear. You'll be able to tell when it comes up. It's like his first wild scene that I feel like really perfectly illustrates his style. While we're on the topic of animators, the animators on this cartoon were probably Bob McKimson, Rod Scribner, Virgil Ross, Sid Sutherland, and Paul Smith. And I suspect that Cecil Surrey and Rev Cheney might have animated on it as well, although I can't tell you what they did on it. This is some Rod Scribner animation, but it's not as good as the scene that I'm going to mention and bring up and praise like all heck later on.
When did you first see this cartoon?
The first time I saw this cartoon was probably on the Looney Tunes Spotlight Collection, Volume 5. I took a lot of the mannerisms from all the characters and I kind of incorporated that in my regular life, which pissed off everyone that came within like a mile near me. But I also, when I started collecting 16mm film, I made sure to get a print of this cartoon as soon as I could, and I was able to get a hold of it on 16mm in a very faded AAP television print from the 50s, but still, better than nothing,
So here's that scene that was mentioning before, which seems to be used in a lot of the documentaries about Tex Avery, but and for good reason. It perfectly illustrates his kind of humor, like just, passing the piece of paper over.
Yeah, sure. This is the best part of the cartoon. The animation gets really great here, and I suspect that Tex did that long background pan at the beginning to save the larger piece of the budget for higher quality animation, something that Bob Clampett did for years. The shot of the three bears under the table was Bob McKimson animation, and this shot of Papa Bear laughing and talking about Reader's Digest is some early Virgil Ross animation.
Wow.
This is great. Of course, I feel like I don't need to tell you, but just for the viewers, if you're playing at home, this is the Rod Scribner animation we were talking about. Just amazing.
Oh, I'm sure they figured that out. So those were the highlights. So we're going to go through this short from start to finish and go through the things that were missed. But firstly, this might take a little while since this is one of the longest Looney Tunes shorts, clocking in at over 9 minutes long. But hey, because it's so good, who cares, right? I really enjoyed this one and we'll go through why that is. But looking at the title cards, and it's interesting to see Ben Hardaway's name on it. And for those of you who have been following this channel for a while, I'm no fan of Ben Hardaway. I don't think he was particularly good. I'm not saying he didn't do anything good. He did some decent gags here and there, but ultimately he wasn't particularly great. So I don't believe he contributed much to this one. Not saying he didn't. He probably did, because at this time he was no longer directing, and this would have been just before he went over to Walter Lantz, and then he had a hand in Woody Woodpecker. But at the time there was a rotating credit system, so animators and writers and so on were rotated between each cartoon because they only showed one credit per thing, as you can see. So in this case, you also see Rod Scribner as animator, but obviously others worked on this one too. So once title cards are finished, we actually see a playbill of sorts, and for about, I don't know, a minute or so, we don't really see much animation. We see the playbill and we just see some establishing shots which take about a minute and a half or thereabouts. But it works really, really well here. And we hear the narrator, who's voiced by Robert C. Bruce, and all the credits come from Keith Scott's wonderful Cartoon Voices book, where he lists who does what, and I'll let you guys know as we go along. And we see an interesting reference at the bottom, Mervyn LeBoy, which is a reference to Mervyn LeRoy, and he was a director at the time, and he directed quite a few films, including one of my favorites, Little Caesar. So I would imagine that Avery was just a fan and just wanted to tease him. And remember, at the time, there was also the studio system, so certain actors would be tied to one particular studio, and what studios would do at the time is sometimes they'll loan actors to another studio, so that's where that reference comes from. And a lot of Hollywood movies at the time would open with a cast list like this, and I believe that comes from playbills for plays at the time, and it showed what actor is doing which part. And what do we hear in the music? Of course we hear You Ought to Be in Pictures, because what else are you going to hear here? Then going past the playbill, we see this beautiful shot of a castle, and this would have most likely reminded people of the opening shot in Snow White, and it looks very similar. See, Avery liked to lampoon Disney, and by extension, of course, fairy tales and that sort of thing, but he knew in order to do so, you had to have known what Disney did in order to make fun of it, and yeah, this looks definitely like the initial shots in Snow White where we see the Queen's castle. And again, we get some vibes of Snow White here as we pan past this beautiful green forest, and again, this HD print really makes the colors all pop here, and it looks fantastic. And it's interesting how in the narration here, where you go Robert C. Bruce narrating, he would narrate something, then you would hear some music, and it's paced very deliberately here, and it's an interesting little effect, and I guess it's just to give people a false sense of security that, oh yeah, we're just going to see something that's on the Disney side of things. I'm guessing if people didn't know who Fred Avery was, well, they'll know soon enough.
In the midst of a beautiful green forest, there was a quaint little cottage.
And of course, as soon as we see the home, what do we hear? We hear Home Sweet Home, because once again, what else are we going to hear, right? So now we're inside the cottage, and now we are going to establish our bear's characters. So we're going to see the Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the Baby Bear. And I like how the music cues change for each character as we see them drop in. And sure enough, the porridge then drops in because we need that as part of the story. And interestingly enough, all the porridge here is hot, as opposed to my porridge is too hot, mine is too cold, and mine is just right. So it's a little bit different here, but who cares, right? Now, Baby Bear is voiced by Bernice Hansel, and the voice should sound familiar if you're familiar with the earlier Sniffles shorts at around this time.
The baby bear said,
This stuff's too hot.
And Mama Bear is voiced by Sarah Berner.
Whoa, it is too hot.
And who else is going to voice Papa Bear? Of course, it has to be Tex Avery, complete with his trademark laughter that we hear in the majority of shorts that he does a voice in. And he says,
seems too hot.
So while putting water in his mouth, we then see him move his head, and sure enough, it's a hot water tap. I know you guys in the US say faucet, we say tap, okay, just so you know. And he goes, hot stuff. And not only does he laugh at it, he laughs a lot. Pretty much what I was when I first heard this joke, just laughing uncontrollably.
Hot stuff.
So we then see Mama Bear just saying, you know what, let's just go for a walk away for the porridge to cool. She looks at herself in a mirror, and in a very strange gag, she looks at herself, and it's impressive on a technical level when they have to have a character look at themselves in the mirror, but she turns the mirror around, which had a mirror behind it, and she looks at the back of her head. Strange joke, but okay. And we see a rather cute joke where the three of them leave the house and they got 3 different sized doors. Not everything has to be crazy funny or anything. Sometimes you can see stuff like this. It gives you a little chuckle. I thought it was cute. And so they go into the beautiful green forest. So once we're outside, we see the beautiful backgrounds once again, but we quickly cut to the fact that it's a 3-person tandem bike. And we once again get a play on the music cues like we did when we had the whole porridge scenes. The cues are heard again, including in the end, Rockabye Baby is played really, really fast once we see the baby pedaling really fast and doing all the work here.
The Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the Baby Bear.
Meanwhile, so we've set everything up with the 3 bears, we're now going to see the other players in this short, starting with Goldilocks. And we first hear that really funny cue of Spring Song, which we heard beforehand, just before the bears go on their bike. I just like the fact that Carl Stalling is really playing with the music here. It's fantastic. And just as fantastic is the whole "A Tisket Tasket." I don't know, it's just a really weird rendition of it. And Goldilocks is voiced by Bernice Hansel as well. And she approaches what we think is going to be the 3 bears' home. And we hear some knocking where it's, of course, light tapping with the animation, but the door shows otherwise. And we see some wonderful panning to the music as we get a big reveal that we're going to see the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood. And here is voiced by Mel Blanc, and that's the only voice he does in this short. This next bit is absolutely brilliant, and it shows just how good Avery was at melding these 2 different types of fairy tales together. So you have Goldilocks entering, the wolf thinks it's Red Riding Hood that's about to enter, and even does the whole, come in, come in.
Come in, Little Red. Come in, Little Red Riding Hood. What is this, a frame-up?
And the voice immediately changes, so Mel Blanc does his whole New Yorker type accent when he tells Goldilocks, no, the 3 bears are actually down the block, and pushes her out of the house. So Goldilocks leaves all offended.
Grandma's dumped and I'm waiting for Red Riding Hood.
What's Red Riding Hood got that I haven't got?
What's Red Riding Hood got that I haven't got? And then it dawned on the wolf. Wait a minute, I can still eat her. What was I thinking? That's kind of silly. And so the wolf goes to the bookshelf where there is conveniently a lot of fairy tale books, including Goldilocks, and conveniently goes to the page he needs. I love the lighting in this part here, which emphasizes exactly what he's looking for and what he can do to get Goldilocks instead of Red Riding Hood. And in case it hasn't dawned on you that this is a Tex Avery short, how does the wolf get to the 3 bears' house? Simple, he hails a taxi. Very conveniently, and even tells him, I'll pay for the tickets. Beautiful. Nice little added touch there.
Taxi! To the 3 bears' house and step on it. I'll take care of any tickets.
The wolf enters the cottage and goes into Baby Bear's bed, which is what happened in the story, except Goldilocks does it instead of the wolf. And the bears are now returning home, and in a scene which is all too familiar to me, Papa Bear imitates a siren just for his own amusement, I guess, and he gets the backhand from his wife. Yeah, very familiar. I'll do silly things like that, and then whack.
Ah! Ah!
Sound kind of like a police car, don't it?
But before the bears come home, we see Goldilocks and she's found the correct house, while the wolf is waiting upstairs, very impatient. And sure enough, we introduce yet another player in our little story here. Now, given that it is Red Riding Hood, What cue do you think Starling chose for this? Come on, take a wild guess. Could it be the lady in red? Yeah. It's predictable, but hey, it's still funny. And by the way, Red Riding Hood is voiced by Sarah Berner in this short. So Red enters Grandma's house and finds a note saying, "Dear Red, I've got tired of waiting," and so on. That thing at the top that says reading time 1 minute 20 seconds, that is a very obscure joke. It actually took me a little while to find out what it was, but there was a magazine at the time called Liberty Magazine. No, not whatever libertarian stuff is at today, but back then there was a magazine called Liberty Magazine. And on top of the articles at the time, there will be a thing saying reading time, blah, blah, blah. So I guess the wolf thinks it's going to take you 1 minute 20 seconds to read that note. But anyway, that's where that reference comes from. So we see Goldilocks going upstairs, all sleepy, as per the story, so she's following things along, but Red then tries to call her in one of the scenes that Tex Avery is mostly famous for, which is the split-screen phone call, which was already done in Thugs with Dirty Mugs, but it's done again here, and sure enough, it will be done again in the future. So during this scene, it starts off like it did prior in Thugs with Dirty Mugs, but here, they added the extra touch of, hey, here's the note, read for yourself, and they even shake hands. So with Avery, he likes to repeat gags, but every time he does, he definitely likes to top what he's done before, and this bit is no exception. And we even get a little topper where it may go over the heads of a lot of people today, but when you would use a payphone, and I'm of the generation where we use payphones, but once mobile phones came into play, they weren't used as much. But when you would hang up the phone, you'd hear the money drop in and you sort of put your finger in the refund chute thinking, oh, am I going to get some money back? Which normally you don't, but yeah, that's what she's doing there, which I thought was pretty amusing. But again, for most people who didn't grow up with payphones, this sort of gag may go over their heads. Oh, and we never see Goldilocks again this short, nor do we have to. I guess she's taking the warning very seriously, and who knows, she's probably gone off to another fairy tale somewhere nearby. So the bears quickly ride back home, and we get through the section of the story that everyone knows, and that's the bears go to their porridge and they realize that somebody ate them all up. And the wolf ends up sneezing from upstairs, and sure enough, the three bears think it's some kind of a robber. So Papa Bear says, I'm going to go upstairs and take care of the crook.
Oh, you and Junior stay right here. I'll go upstairs and take care of that crook.
And Papa Bear goes upstairs, letting us know that he's actually in on it. He actually knows that it's not a robber and it's actually Goldilocks because he read the story last week in Reader's Digest. And in case you don't know, Reader's Digest is a magazine, and back then it was quite popular, and it would end up having abridged versions of many stories among other articles.
I know there ain't no robber up there, just a little tiny girl named Goldilocks. I read this story last week in Reader's Digest.
I swear, probably my favorite part of this short is Tex Avery's delivery in this. All the laughing he does, and even when he enters the room thinking it's Goldilocks and he says, now you come get out of there. His delivery is amazing, and I have always enjoyed when Tex Avery actually voices characters in his own shorts. And when the bear realizes that it's a wolf in the bed, and just the way that Avery stammers throughout that scene, perfection. Absolute perfection.
Well, you are Gold. Well, me, you. Well, you.
Not to mention that the animation is fantastic too. And so the Papa Bear runs off. We hear California, here we come, so I'm assuming they're going to escape to California now, but anyway. And all three of them escape the house, and we end in a fairy tale type way, although it's done as a parody here, where we end up with, so over the hill went the three bears, Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and the little bear behind. So we finish right there. Do we know what happens to Goldilocks and Red Riding Hood? No, and nor do we need to. Okay, this bit wasn't originally planned, but Manny reached out to me and said, oh, I want to say a few things about this short. So I said, fine, if you can send me something and I'll add it in. I mean, literally, I was in the middle of editing this and he told me, and I said, all right, I'll add you. So take it away, Manny.
Hi, everyone. This is Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor. I just wanted to drop in to say a few things about this particular cartoon, 1940's The Bear's Tale, directed by Tex Avery. I have a soft spot for this cartoon. I really like it. Looks gorgeous in terms of animation and the backgrounds and everything. And I was going to do a super quick edition of It's Time for Manny's Music, Manny's Music Time theme song insert here. But there's a ton of cues in this cartoon. But what I will say is that I like how rapid fire they are in this cartoon when you're introducing the mama bear, the papa bear, and the baby bear. So, for example, when the narrator's setting up the scene, you hear a little bit of Mendelssohn's Spring Song. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Rode the 3 bears.
And then I hear Home Sweet Home afterwards, and then Papa Bear's theme song is What's the Matter with Father? Mama Bear's theme song is That Wonderful Mother of Mine. And Baby Bear is Rockabye Baby on the treetop. Mama Bear puts on really quick, put on your old gray bonnet. And I love how quickly it jumps around the musical cues.
Justin?
Come now, let's all go for a ride until the porridge cools.
So she picked up her hat?
It kills me every time I watch this cartoon. But the thing that makes me laugh the most is Tex Avery doing the voice of Papa Bear. And I absolutely adore any time Tex Avery does his distinct laugh. I mean, he did the laugh too. Another cartoon that comes to mind is Count Me Out from Ben Hardaway and Cal Dalton when he's the referee in that cartoon.
The challenger at 6 and 7/8.
Papa Bear in this one, the obnoxious hippo in the audience from Hammockshire Night, another Tex Avery short from 1939.
It's a killer. It's a killer.
And then later on, when he goes to MGM and he did the voice of the bulldog in Bad Luck Blackie, that big guffaw of a laugh that he has. Probably my favorite scene in the cartoon is when you hear in the soundtrack once again, What's the Matter with Father? You hear it played a little bit slower, and Papa Bear is walking up the stairs and he says, I read it last week in Reader's Digest. And that scene just, it floors me every time with how funny it is. Just like Papa Bear, you just want to hang out with him. He's just a cool dude. He's just laughing. He's just having a good time. Hot stuff when he drinks the hot water out of the faucet. Gets me every time. And I'm going to be recording soon a commentary for Anthony for Porky at the Crocodero. And in that cartoon, there's a scene where it does rapid fire cues based off what's going on in the action. And this cartoon is another example how it goes from Spring Song to Home Sweet Home to What's the Matter with Father? It's just boom, 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 boom. Oh, and of course, the theme song for Little Red Riding Hood is The Lady in Red. The fellas are crazy for the Lady in Red. It's a shame that I don't have enough time to record more for this one, but I just wanted to drop in, just some quick thoughts, all that, and I know Anthony's going to be doing the rest of the commentary and whatnot, but enjoy, and see if I can get this right. No, that's not good. Let me get ready. I'll try to do the Tex Avery laugh. That's some hot stuff. Hopefully you feel that way hearing my impression of Tex Avery's laugh. It's a little difficult to pull off, but hopefully I did a decent job. I mean, rank me or rate me in the comments or say, hey, Manny, that was great, or hey, Manny, practice. But yeah, thanks for listening. To follow me, the Toonie Tenor, TheTooneyTenor, for more updates on my life as a musician and a multifaceted geek and plenty of Looney Tunes stuff because I love me some Looney Tunes and merry melodies. And I love this short in particular. So thanks for listening. See you soon. And that was the best one.
Yeah, I think your last one was the best one, Manny, and I was kind of annoyed that you sent me something last minute, but your laughs made it all the worthwhile, so much appreciated. Wow, so this is one of those shorts which just illustrates what a genius Tex Avery is. I know some people are in the Warner Brothers camp for Tex Avery shorts or are in the MGM camp for Tex Avery. Me, I love both. But I like how at each studio there's like a different flavor, if you will, where he had the lesser animators at Warner Brothers, but at the same time, he was just as creative even with those animators. And that's not to say the animators are bad, but it's quite clear that MGM gave him the bigger budgets, which meant that his productions ended up looking more lavish. But here he makes the most out of it. It looks absolutely stunning here, and once again, it's shown off in this beautiful restoration. And for a while, Avery was doing all these spot gag shorts, which are funny enough and that, but it's these sort of shorts that I feel are more memorable and in turn can be a lot more funny and a lot more, I guess, fulfilling. I tend to view the spot gag shorts, as funny as a lot of them can be, as sort of like a fast food meal, whereas a short like this is kind of like a proper sit-down dinner. I mean, that's the way I see it anyway. This one gets 9.5 out of 10. It is a masterpiece, and it is one of Tex Avery's finest shorts out of either of the studios he was at. So there we are. And sure, as frustrating as it is to revisit a lot of these shorts because of the whole copyright takedown thing I had to go through all those years back, when I watch a short like this, I think, hey, it's not so much of a chore after all. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
Over the hill went the three bears. The Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the little bear behind.